Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be reacting to another video from Swagkage. This one called 5 More Broken Naruto Jutsus. Now, before I get to the actual video, I do just have to say this. I know that he made another video talking about broken Naruto abilities, but the thing is, I kind of already watched that video, and I figured it's probably better if I watch this video because I haven't watched this one. But we will still watch that video and we will still react to it, and I will give you guys my thoughts on it, of course. But I figured it's probably better to start with this one since I haven't already watched it. So let's go ahead and watch this, and of course we will be getting back to the other videos where I guess you could say, goes into an in-depth analysis on certain characters. We will be going back to those videos, but for now I figured let's just sit back and watch something that feels like it's a little bit more fun, where we could just sit back and have fun. So let's go ahead and full screen this. Just control the volume and play.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Swagkage here, and welcome to today's video. So, one of the most popular videos on my channel, and this has basically been the case since I first uploaded it, is a video I made a few years back talking about really busted, unfair Naruto Jutsu. Now, personally, I don't think it's that great. I think I've gotten a lot better at making videos since then, but nonetheless, a lot of people have been asking for a sequel to it for a really long time. Now, fortunately for everybody who was a fan of the first video, Naruto has no shortage of stupid, wacky nonsense, and so it wasn't hard for me to track down 5 more jutsu.
That is true, and listen, this is, again, I think I've mentioned this before, but it's one of the things that I've noticed about Kishimoto as a writer is he does have a tendency to give characters these incredibly overpowered abilities. And usually the problem with that, at least I've found when it comes to writing, is that if you give characters, or if you introduce into your world these incredibly, seemingly, like you said, broken abilities, you're always wondering, like, okay, well then how come in this situation they didn't use this, or why didn't they use it in this situation? And yeah, I mean, to me that just introduces a lot of problems. And we even saw one in the most recent chapter, and that's, I guess you could say, kind of my biggest worry, where he did make it kind of overpowered, and I am kind of worried that maybe, like, in the future he's probably going to realize that, oh shit, I probably made this too powerful, and now I need to take it easy with it. So I just I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Again, I'm holding off judgment on that for now.
That I think are absolutely ridiculous. Maybe not to the same extent as the ones I mentioned in the first video, but for one reason or another, they're all still pretty crazy.
Huh? Number 5. Lightning release chakra mode. Okay.
So some of you may be a bit surprised that this is on the list. Maybe you associate the jutsu with the 4th Raikage and
not
don't
really.
remember the 3rd all that well. But the 3rd Raikage is who we're going to be focusing on here, because this is sort of a Yamato Hashirama situation, though it's not quite as extreme, where we're introduced to a technique through one person, and then we later find out that there's a dead person who is way better at using the technique than the first person was. And now, to be totally fair, it's still a pretty scary jutsu in the hands of the 4th Raikage, but I only think it's worth putting on this list because of what we know the 3rd Raikage could do with it. So to briefly explain how the jutsu works, a user conducts electricity through their body, and this increases their speed, allows them to hit harder, and it creates an aura of lightning release chakra around their body that acts as a shield. A few of you may be wondering why I didn't mention any drawbacks, and that's because there aren't any. This jutsu boosts your strength, your speed, and your defense, the 3 most important physical attributes, without negatively impacting any of them. And it would be one thing if these boosts were minor, but they're not. They're not at all. As a matter of fact, they're pretty fucking...
And it's something that I always wonder, like, how come we don't see any more characters use this ability specifically? Like, okay, especially Sasuke, because he, like, after Shippuden, we saw that he became incredibly proficient with lightning nature transformation. And I've always wondered, like, you would think that after seeing this, after fighting the 4th Raikage during the 5 Kage Summit arc, after he saw that ability, you would think he would realize that, this is actually a pretty useful ability. And he did have the Sharingan active, so he probably, like, already knows how the ability works, and yet for some reason we never see him. Again, that just always seemed a little bit weird to me, especially since, he, just like Swagkage says, this ability doesn't really have any drawbacks. So again, it's one of those other things that, again, one of the biggest problems with Kishimoto's writing is that he introduces these incredibly overpowered abilities, and you're always wondering, like, why don't we see more people using these abilities? Unless you, I mean, some of them you can understand, like some of them you require, there are certain requirements for using this jutsu, like for example sage mode, like you see in Naruto sage mode, you obviously sage mode makes you incredibly powerful, but you need to actually train in sage mode. And they do, and he does kind of say that it is a difficult technique to master, but at the same time you're always wondering, like, how come you can't expect me to believe that there's only like 5 people in the world who can master sage mode. It's just, I don't know, that to me just always seemed a little bit unbelievable.
Enormous. I know I don't need to tell anybody this, but both the 3rd and the 4th Raikage are really, really fast, and they're also known for hitting extremely hard. According to Darui, nobody before Sasuke had survived the 4th Raikage's Liger Bomb, and he's significantly weaker than the 3rd Raikage. This guy, on the other hand, is able to kill multiple people at the same time with just a jab. Like, look at this. This was the result of him dashing forward and just poking somebody. This is ridiculous. The thing that gets me the most about this jutsu is with it, you're already going to be moving so fast that nobody's going to be able to hit you, and even if they do, your attacks are so strong and so devastating that you're probably going to be able to kill them anyway before they can do any serious damage to you. But for some reason, the 3rd Raikage thought to himself, hey, you know what this jutsu's missing? It's not an indestructible shield yet. And when I say indestructible, I don't mean really hard to penetrate. I mean you are absolutely 100% never breaking through this shield unless you have like 6 pads powers or something. And if you think I'm exaggerating, lightning's natural elemental weakness is wind, and so you'd think that a wind release jutsu, at least a strong enough one, would be able to crack through the shield, right? Well, no. Temari and a bunch of other wind release users all hurled big ol' wind blast straight at the 3rd Raikage, and he just stood there and it didn't affect him. Then Naruto showed up, and the first thing he did was throw a Rasen shuriken at this guy, and he dodged it twice. And then Naruto finally manages to line it up so that it smashes into him, and it doesn't do anything anyway. So even if by some miracle you're able to hit him while he's whizzing around the battlefield at lightning speed, it doesn't matter. It's probably not even gonna scratch him. It's not even like it takes a toll on his stamina either, because he was able to fight 10,000 ninja by himself for 3 days straight before finally collapsing and dying. I imagine he didn't have any food or water either. 10,000 angry enemy ninja probably wouldn't let him stop to eat a sandwich or whatever, so it certainly doesn't tire him out. Like I said, it feels like the jutsu has no drawbacks.
And again, how come we don't see more people using it? Oh yeah, particle style is pretty broken. I mean, or dust release.
Now, yeah. I know I'm kind of cheating here like I did when I put wood release as a whole on the last list, but to be fair, we don't really see that many particle-style jutsu in the series. As a matter of fact, I think we only see 2, and both of them are basically the same thing. But anyway, my reasons for thinking it's just a little bit overboard should be pretty self-explanatory. You just shouldn't be able to fire a gigantic laser beam that can atomize anything it touches. Why Inoki ever felt like he needed to hire the Akatsuki when he could just do this, it's a bit of a mystery to me. I know we never saw it used for anything significant aside from Inoki nearly killing Sasuke with it, but that's not really his fault. He was introduced right before the war arc, so aside from, again, Sasuke, all of his opponents were regenerating zombies who got progressively more powerful.
And even then, Sasuke only survived because of Tobi.
Former Kage, including another user of particle style, and then finally Madara Uchiha. So I think it's safe to say that the circumstances weren't exactly ideal for him to make the best use of this nature transformation, and had we been given the opportunity to see him fight regular people, he probably would have steamrolled them. Like, all he has to do is make this box of chakra around them, and then just like that, they cease to exist. There's no setup required or anything. It's as simple as that.
Oh yeah, 8 gates. 8 gates is pretty fucking broken.
So you could maybe argue that the 8 gates are more fair than the last 2 entries, because to get the most out of them, you have to kill yourself. And even if you're not opening all 8 of them, opening any of them comes with some pretty serious risks. But that said, opening the 8 gates is basically all Guy knows how to do, and he's a fucking badass. Also, even though opening the 8th gate is an act of suicide, well, first of all, if you happen to have anybody who can perform miracles on the fly nearby, like Naruto, for example, then you're fine. But more importantly, the price of death does not make up for the gargantuan power boost you receive. When Guy opened the 8th gate, he was able to do nearly lethal damage to Madara, and Madara had Yin Yang release, Wood release, and the Rinnegan. And now, granted, Guy was only able to do so well against him because he had the assistance of Minato, Kakashi, and Rock Lee. But even with the help of all three of these people, nobody else would have been able to do nearly as well against Madara as Guy did. I mean, before him, Obito was tearing the entire allied shinobi forces apart. So the fact that Guy stood even a teensy, itsy-bitsy chance against Madara here is pretty impressive. Also, I'd like to repeat that this is the only thing Guy knows how to do. He can't do anything aside from open the 8 gates and punch and kick really hard. So if you gave the ability to open the 8 gates to anybody like Madara or Hashirama or even like Sakura or Tsunade, you'd have a pretty serious problem on your hands. If Naruto ever learned how to do it, well, then it'd be game over for anybody who tries to fight him. Could you imagine 2000 6-pad Sage Mode Kurama Avatar 8th gate open Naruto's charging straight at you? That sounds horrifying.
Yeah, but again, like, you gotta remember, the price for that is death. It's true, Sage Mode also.
So Sage Mode is like the 8 gates, but without any of the drawbacks. Granted, the buffs provided by it aren't quite as substantial as the ones provided by, like, opening the 7th and 8th gate, but just look what it did for Kabuto. If you would have told me this guy would go on to become a major antagonist, I would have no reason to believe you. As a matter of fact, I would probably never talk to you again. But somehow, he went from this to this. Before mastering Sage Mode, he was so flimsy that Naruto literally shouted at him and sent him flying across a bridge. Then after mastering Sage Mode, he was able to tussle with Sasuke and Itachi at the same time while blind and almost beat them a couple times throughout the fight. As a matter of fact, Sage Mode is so great that Orochimaru created a crappy bootleg version of it, called it the Curse Mark, and it still ended up being one of the most valuable tools in the arsenal of anybody who can use it. Actually, Swag, you have to leave yourself open for a really long time to enter Sage Mode because you have to gather natural energy. It's not that easy. See, Minato would like to have a word with you because he's like, oh yeah, man, no, I suck at Sage Mode. I'm just really bad at it. That's why I never use it. And then, like, he just goes. Also in the war, when Naruto figures out that he can stack it on top of KCM, he's like, oh sweet, let's try it out. And he doesn't have to go off in the corner and go gather natural energy or whatever. Just like Minato, he's just like, all right, that's it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Shadow Clone Jutsu.
This jutsu might be the dumbest thing in the whole entire series. Maybe it's not as ridiculous as the Sharingan, but then again, the Sharingan doesn't let you clone yourself 2,000 times. That's my biggest thing with this jutsu. The regular Shadow Clone Jutsu that lets you make about a dozen at most, that's one thing, but the multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu, like, 2,000? Are you serious? Why do you need that many? Why is the number that high? Even setting that aside, there are so many other applications for this jutsu. It can be used to significantly accelerate the process of training, and like, I mean by a lot. Naruto was able to complete multiple years worth of training in the span.
Again, I know I keep harping on this, but again, you gotta remember, it's like, when you really think about these abilities, you're always wondering, like, why are we not seeing more people use this? Like, just for an example, let's say when Sasuke was training with Orochimaru, I know Sasuke doesn't have anywhere near the chakra reserves that Naruto has, but the thing is, like, we were told that one of the benefits of the Shadow Clone Jutsu is that if you were whatever your clones learn, or whatever experiences your clones have, whenever they disappear, they go back to the original. So you would think that someone who's desperate to get stronger as quickly as possible, you would think that Sasuke would still use it, have them train, have them gain the experience, and then disable them, call back the clones, and then he'd be able to get back whatever information the clone learns, and they'd be able to vastly accelerate the training process. And again, I'm always wondering, like, why do we not see more people use this? It just seems so incredibly useful, and I get it. Like, one of the reasons why Naruto is able to get away with it is because of, again, his incredibly insane chakra reserves, and not to mention being like part Uzumaki, he has an incredibly strong life force, and overdoing himself won't really necessarily carry as much risk as it would to, let's say, other regular shinobi. But still, like, it's hard for me to believe that there aren't many people using this. It's just a little hard to believe.
of a few days, maybe a week at most, because of the way shadow clones work. That's dumb. That's not even a little bit fair. That shouldn't be possible, but apparently it is. So I guess Naruto could just like walk into the Hidden Leaf's library, pick up the scrolls for every jutsu there, and within like a year or two, he'd be a master of all of them. He was also able to have his clones gather natural energy for him while he was fighting pain, so he could like constantly refill his Sage Mode meter without really having to do anything. Then of course there's the fact that he basically fought the Fourth War by himself. He fought multiple Kage level opponents who were all spread out across the world at the same time, and he was able to do this all thanks to the Shadow Clone Jutsu. For some reason, his Shadow Clones could also create their own Shadow Clones, which really wasn't necessary. Kishimoto, you didn't have to let him do that. He was already really strong, and he would have been really fine without clones that could make their own clones, and those clones could probably also make clones of their own. By the end of the series, one of Naruto's Shadow Clones could probably wipe out all life on Earth aside from Sasuke by itself. And even if that's not the case, he'd still have 1,999 of them sitting on the sidelines.
Okay, I think that's it. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, he's not wrong. Those are some pretty overpowered abilities. And again, with some of them, I can probably see, I can see reasons as to why more people don't use them. Again, one of the things is the Shadow Clone. Like, for example, one of the reasons why Naruto is able to, one of the reasons why he's able to make so many of them is because of his insanely large chakra reserves. But again, you can't expect me to believe that there probably aren't more shinobi out there who could probably get away with, at the very least, creating, I don't know, like 20 of them at the very least. And again, it's just, it's another ability that I always wonder, how come we're not seeing more people use them? Like, for example, the lightning chakra mode that he mentioned. Okay, that I can kind of understand. Like, if you don't have lightning release, then okay, then yeah, technically that would make sense as to why you wouldn't be able to use it. But again, like other characters with lightning release, I always wonder, like, how come we don't see them use this ability? Like Kakashi, for example, his nature energy is lightning release. And I mean, and yet we don't see him use that. I mean, we do see him like sort of up his lightning release abilities, and ironically enough, it's after he lost the Sharingan with the purple lightning, which seems to be an incredibly powerful jutsu that when Boruto used it in the tournament, in the Chunin exams, that everyone was wondering, like, wait a minute, how the hell did you use this ability? Like, there's no way you're advanced enough to be able to use this. So yeah, again, it's just like, okay, like let's say for example with Sasuke, after seeing it, and again he saw it with his Sharingan, so he should have complete understanding of how this jutsu works. And yet I'm always wondering, like, how come we never see him use this? Because I can think of a lot of situations where, like, that ability would have been incredibly useful. Like, for example, his fight with Ishiki, you would think that maybe he would want to boost himself up by doing that, considering, like he said, there's probably no drawbacks. Or there is none. And again, it's just another ability that Kishimoto introduced that is incredibly powerful, and yet you're wondering, like, how come we're not seeing more people use this? All right, I think I've said everything I need to say. I'm just gonna end this video right here, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Remember to like the video, share the video, and if you haven't, maybe consider clicking on the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to let you know whenever I post a brand new video, including a new reaction. Thank you so much again. Please remember to stay safe and take care of yourselves, and please join me for the next video. Bye for now.